Oh, yeah. Can you please confirm me? My voice is audible now. Okay. Hope my screen also. Nice. We will continue. So actually, as part of our previous session, we discussed about all these things. What we discussed. Yeah, we discussed about the null operator. So what is the null?
Null is empty. It is not equal to 0.
Okay, so null is a kind of a unknown value. Now tell me, if you are going to perform any kind of arithmetic operations on top of null, what is the output we will get?
Null.
Null only.
And if you are going to perform any comparison operations on null,
We are
Null.
using H null or H dot null.
it will give the 0 records only. If you are going to give the condition as if where DID is equal to null, it won't work. But if you want to filter the data based on the null value, so what is the operator we are going to use?
Is null.
We are going to apply the is null. And if you want to fetch the only not null values, then we need to go for the is not null. Okay. So these are all the topics we covered as part of our previous session. And other than that, whenever you want to apply the filter conditions on the regular expressions, which operator we are going to use? We are going to use the like operator. With the help of the like operator, we can apply the regular expressions on top of your data. And in the same way, if you want to define the regular expressions, what we are doing? We are going to use the two special characters. One is the percentile and one is the underscore. So we discussed about multiple examples on the same. Okay. And after that, we started discussing about the aggregate functions. So when we need to go for aggregate functions, for what kind of requirements we need to go for aggregate functions?
Summarizer.
Whenever you want to convert
Summarize
detailed data
data.
into summarized format, then we need to go for the aggregate functions. As per the requirement, if you want to convert detailed data into summarized format, then we have to use the aggregate functions. And what are the different aggregate functions we are having? Sum, max, min, average, and count. If you want to perform summing operations, we need to go for sum. To get the max values from the table, we need to go for max. To get the min values from the table, we need to go for min. And if you want to get the average values, we need to go for average. And if you want to check the number of records from the table, we need to go for count. And within the count, we discussed about one more thing. Count of star and count of column name. Both are same or both are different?
Both are different.
Both are different, but when it is different, count of star is not equal to count of column name if your column is having any null values.
Null value.
And count of star is equal to count of column, but when your column is not having any null values. Okay, this is one more thing we discussed. And after that, I think we discussed about the group by. So when we need to go for group by clause? When we need to go for group by? Whenever you want to perform the
Grouping.
summarized operations based on a particular column. If you want to get the summarized data based on a particular column, then what we can do here, we can able to use the clause called as a group by clause. And what is the rule we need to follow as part of using the group by clause?
Whatever the columns we mentioned,
Whatever the columns we are giving in the select statement, we need to pass all those columns in the group by clause. But tell me, reverse is applicable? Reverse is not applicable. Whatever the columns we are giving in the group by clause, no need to pass all those columns into the select statement, and it's not a mandatory thing. So these are all the rules we need to follow as part of using our group by clause. Okay, I know you got the 2 days of break. Might be, yeah. Any question?
Yeah, in select statement, I passed the 4 column names, and group by class, I passed the only 1 column name only, but I didn't get any errors, sir.
Yeah, I saw this kind of issue in some systems only. I think that is the issue from the whatever the version currently we are using. But generally, so we should not write the query like this. If you are going to write the query, you should give the error. Otherwise, one more thing you can able to understand. You are getting the data, but how many records you are getting? So for example, this one, we'll see one example. So actually, some people mentioned that. So when they are not following the rules, also they are not getting any syntax error. Now, for example, I'm writing the query like this: select EAD, EM, EAD from employee table. I'm giving it as a group by department ID. Okay. Now, for example, this is the query I'm running. Actually, in my system, when I'm running, I'm getting the syntax error for this kind of queries, but some other people are not getting the syntax error. But as I mentioned, so compulsory we have to follow this rule, and it might be because of some issues in the version, whatever you are using, you are not getting that error. But tell me, for example, if this query is executing, if this query is not giving any kind of error, what is the output it will throw? Any guess? As per this SQL query, how many records it should throw if it is running?
EID, ename and DID.
Yeah, it will give the 3 columns. What I'm telling here, I'm telling that this query should throw the output as a syntax error. Okay, but some people are able to running this query and they are getting the output also. But tell me, actually, if I'm going to run this query, what is the value we need to get? If you are going to apply the group by department ID, what will happen? It will group the data based on the department ID column, which is nothing but we are going to get the mostly 3 records: 10 record, 20 record, and 30 record. But if you observe here, within the 10, we are having the only 1 record, or we are having the 2 records at the table. We are applying the group by on the department ID column, and for department ID, we are having the 10 as a value, only it's a group. Now in this 10, how many records we are having? We are having the 2 records. Now you tell me, as part of after performing the grouping operation, in the output, what need to happen? It is given the value as a 10. But for this, it need to give value as a 1, 8, 10, IN, or it need to give output as a 1, 3, 10, IN. Whether it need to give this value as output or this value as output, or it will give the both the values as output. If it is working, for example, what I'm telling here, this query should give the output as a syntax error. But some people are saying that, I think I heard the same feedback from other people also. In some of the people's systems, it is working without giving any error. But tell me, if it is working without giving any error, whatever the data you are getting, that is the correct data or wrong data? That is my question here. Whatever the data you are getting, that is the kind of a wrong data only. So it might be the query is running, but whatever the data you are getting, that data you will call it as a kind of a wrong data, because as part of running this query, we are performing the grouping operation on top of department ID. Now, if you are going to perform the grouping operation on the 10, actually what need to happen? It need to give the only 1 record, but either it might be in your system, it is given the first record or second record. If it is given the first record, you need to question yourself why it is not given the second record. If it is given the second record, we need to question ourselves why it is not given the first record. This is nothing but query is running. It is giving some kind of random data in your output. Whatever the output we are getting, that is not a kind of a correct output only. Actually, to avoid this kind of issues only, we need to get the syntax error. But might be whatever the version you are using, that version is having some kind of bugs or something. For that reason, you are not getting any syntax error. But compulsory, we have to follow this kind of rule as part of writing the queries in the real-time projects. Okay. Or if you want to understand from your side only, you are given the DID column. DID is nothing but what group by. It need to give the only 1 record. Now, as part of execution of this query, which record you are expecting? This query is running, for example, in your system. If this query is going to run, which record we are expecting, either first record or second record? That we cannot able to predict, right? So that's the reason I'm saying that even if this query is running in your system without giving any error, don't assume that we should not follow that rule, and compulsory we have to follow that rule. Otherwise, what will happen? It will give the syntax error, or it will give the wrong data on your output. To avoid this kind of wrong data or to avoid this kind of syntax error, compulsory we have to follow that rule. Okay. Any question on that rule? Still, if you're having, please ask me.
No, got it. Thank you, sir.
You are clear, right? Okay, thank you. Okay, actually, I want to discuss about the assignment on this. So far, I received the assignment answers from only 3-4 people, but daily people are around 50, 60, 70 people are attending all the meetings. I'm not sure what happened with other folks, but I will discuss that at the end of the meeting, because by 12 that I need to complete the class.
So do you want us to share it with you?
Yeah, that's the reason we'll discuss about that at the end of the class. So I think some people are having this kind of question also, whether you need to share it or not, and if you need to share it, how you need to share it through the Telegram or mail. Might be you are having that kind of confusion. That we'll discuss at the end of the class. Is it fine?
Okay, sir. Because I have saved all the answers, but I haven't shared it with you. Right? So,
yeah, no issues. Yeah, I will tell you at the end. I will tell you what is the process we need to follow to share the assignments. I will let you know.
okay, sir.
Okay, so today we'll continue the session. So actually, we are discussing about the aggregate functions. Okay. Already we discussed about from function in detail. So just we'll discuss about sum very quickly. So when we need to go for sum function, So once you understand one function out of all these aggregate functions, and the remaining functions will become as a very easy. So when we need to go for some function to perform some
Summarize
operation
data.
on a particular column,
Data.
then we can go for some function. The same way, coming to max, to get max value from a table, based on a particular column, we can able to use the max. The same way, min, to get minimum values from the table based on a particular column, then we can use min function. Same way, average, to get average values from the table based on a particular column, then we can use average function. And coming to here syntax, we need to do like this only, just we need to pass it as a sum of column name. And next one, just we need to do it as a max of column name. And coming to min, we need to give it as min of column name. And coming to average, also same thing, we have to give it as simply average of column name. So this is the way, just we need to understand when we need to go for what function and what is the syntax of the each functionality. Just I will run the queries quickly, so with that you will get some idea. So I'm giving, for example, sum of sal from employee underscore main table. So what is going to happen? It will give the only one record because we are doing the summing operation on the complete table. So we are going to get the total salary for all the employees together like this. Now in the same way, from this table, I want to find out the maximum salary employee. So what we can do here? Just we can do this, select star from max of sal from employee table. So with this, what will happen?
Select max of sal. From college to tax.
Someone is trying to say something, but his voice is not audible. Just I'm checking the period. Okay, just I given the select max of salary from the employee main table. So in this table, we are having the 60,000 as the highest salary. So we are getting that value as an output. Okay. Now in the same way, just I'm going to give the mid salary. So we are going to get the minimum salary, which is nothing but 10,000. Okay. In the same way, if you want to get the average salary, just give it as the average of salary from employee underscore main. So with it, we are going to get the average salary. What's the meaning of average? What is the meaning of average? Total salary by number of records only. So here we is going to calculate how many, what is the total salary by number of records. So total we are having the 6 records. With that, it is going to get the average salary. Okay. Now one question here, without using the average function, I want to get the average salary. What we can do? Without using the average function, I want to get the average value. So what we can do? What is the definition of average? Total salary by number of records. So how to get the total salary? Just give it as a sum of sal divided by how to get the number of records? By using count function, we can get the number of records. So we can give it as a count of star from employee underscore main. So with this query also, if you see, we are going to get the same output only. Now tell me here, one question from my end. In the same query, can we able to use the all aggregate functions? Is it possible or not? In the single query, can I able to use all the aggregate functions? Any answer from anyone? We can use it only. So see here, just I'm going to write the query like this. For example, I'm giving sum of sal. Just I will give some alias names. Actually, this is one of the entry question. That's why just I'm discussing about this. Okay, if you observe here in the what I'm doing here in the same select statement, I'm applying the sum function, max function, and min and count and average. I'm using all the functions in the same query on top of the same table only. Now tell me if I'm going to run this query. First question, this query will execute or not? And second question, if this query is going to execute, how many records it will throw in the output? First question, this query will execute or not?
Yes, it executed.
This query will execute. And if I'm going to run this query, how many records it will throw in the output?
5.
5 records. Any other answers? This query will give how many records if it is going to execute? It will give only one record. only.
One record,
Here,
5 columns.
one record with 5 columns. Okay, so see actually we are going to get the sum value and we are getting the max value and min value and count value and average value. All these values, what is happening here? We are getting all these values in the single row, which is nothing but we are getting the data in the single record only. Indirectly, if I'm given the select star from employee table, we are going to get the detailed data. But comment here, what kind of data we are getting here? We are getting the summarized data. But in this query, just what I did only, I included all the aggregate functions in the single query. So with that, we are going to get this kind of output on your output screen. So simply we can able to say, first question, can we able to use all the aggregate functions in the same query? Yes, we can use by depending on the requirement. Second question, if you are going to use all the aggregate functions in the same query, what will happen? It won't give any kind of syntax error. It will execute, but as part of output, what will happen? It will give the single record like this, and in this single record, you are going to get the data like this on top of your output screen. Okay. Now, for example, I am going to run the same query. Just I'm adding the group by class. Now tell me this query will execute or not? Same query I'm running by including all the aggregate functions only, but here I'm adding the group by class. Now if I'm going to run this query will execute or not?
No.
Yeah, you
We'll see. See here, this query is throwing the output without giving any errors only. It is giving how many records total? 4 records. What's the reason? In my table, I'm having the total 4 different department IDs, 10, 20, 30, and 40. That's the reason it is given the output on top of your output screen. Okay. Now, some people will get the question or confusion like this. And if you observe here, in the select statement, we are using the aggregate function. And by using this aggregate function, we are giving some alias name. Here, what is the alias name I given? I given the column name as a sum underscore cell. Now, indirectly tell me, in the select statement, how many columns we are having? In this select statement, how many columns I'm having?
5.
I'm having total 5 columns. But in the group by class, how many columns I'm passing?
1.
Only 1 column. What is the rule we need to follow as per the previous discussion? Whatever the number of columns we are giving in the select statement, we need to pass all those columns in the group by class. We need to follow that rule or not? We have to follow that rule. But tell me, in this query, we are not following the rule. But why it is given the output in the output without throwing any syntax error?
Sir, we are not,
For example,
physical column.
I'm giving EAD comma ename from employee table. Here I'm giving group by department ID. I'm running this query. Now see what's happening. It is given the syntax error because we are not passing all the columns in the select statement to your group by class. That's the reason this query is given the output as a syntax error. And if you see the error, select list is not in the group by class. What it means? In the select statement,
Your voice is not coming.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Sir, you are not audible.
hello, my voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
No, it's fine.
now it is fine, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, actually, if you see this query, as per the rule, in the select statement, whatever the columns we are having, we are not passing all those columns into the group by class. For that reason, this query given the error. But why this query is not given the error?
Oh, maybe because of the star
Sir, you
counter
have not
star.
mentioned the physical columns here, sir. You are just calculating the aggregate values from these columns. That's
So
why
see here, yeah, we can say like this only. Just 1 second. I will copy the rule here. So what is the rule? Whenever we are using the group by keyword, whatever the columns we are having in the select statement, compulsory we need to pass all those columns in the group by class. Okay. Just I'm adding the note here. in select statement, if we are having any aggregate columns, in select statement, if we are having any aggregate columns, then those columns no need to pass in group by clause. So what I'm telling here, just I'm adding a note on the first rule only. In the select statement, whatever the aggregate columns we are having, no need to pass those columns into the group by clause. Now immediately some people will get the question, sir, what do you mean by aggregate column? Right? So have we discussed anything about the aggregate column? No, but what I'm telling here, I'm telling the one statement as in select, if we are having any aggregate columns, then those columns no need to pass in the group by clause. If you want to understand the statement, first what we need to understand, we need to understand what is the meaning of the aggregate column only. Now how to understand what is the meaning of aggregate column? Any idea? Anyone?
On top of which column we want to do the aggregate operation.
Yeah, I can able to select
Sum
this.
of
If
department.
we are deriving any columns by using aggregate functions. If we are deriving any columns by using aggregate functions, such kind of columns we can call it as aggregate columns. Okay, just I'm going back to my query, our query only. So in the query, if you observe here, do we have any sum underscore salary column in the table? In my table, do I have any sum underscore salary column? I'm having the salary column, but do we have any sum underscore salary column in the table? No. Here, what we are doing, we are deriving a new column by using which function? By using sum function. So whenever we are deriving a new column by using the aggregate function, either sum or max or min or count or average, in the situation, no need to pass those aggregate columns into the group by clause only. So actually, in the interview, whenever some people are giving this kind of query to you, simply people are giving the answer, this query will throw the syntax error as per the rule. What people are thinking, whatever the columns we are giving in the select statement, we are not passing all those columns in the group by clause. So for that reason, this query will throw the syntax error. That's the reason to avoid that confusion. I'm giving this example here only. This query will not give any syntax error because in the select statement, whatever the columns we are deriving here, these are not normal columns. What we can able to say, all these columns we can able to call it as a aggregate columns. And why we are calling it as a aggregate column? Because all these columns are deriving by using the aggregate function. For that reason, we can able to say all these are the aggregate columns. Whenever we are given the aggregate columns in the select statement, no need to pass those columns into the group by clause as per the rule. For that reason, this query is working without giving any syntax error. Okay, but tell me in the second query why it is given the error. Any guesses? These columns what we can able to call?
Here it's direct columns.
Yeah, instead of calling it as a direct column, and we can able to call it as a normal columns. You can call direct column, but instead, if you want to use the terminology, what we can able to say here, we can able to call it as a normal columns, which is nothing but in the select statement. If you are deriving any columns without using any functions, those columns we can able to call it as a normal columns only. Whenever we are following the normal columns, compulsory we have to follow the rule. But whenever we are using the aggregate columns in the situation, no need to follow the rule. That query will execute without throwing any kind of syntax error. Okay. So any questions on this statement, please ask me here. Just I'm doing the small modification of the rule. This we didn't discuss in the previous class. In the today's example, I want to cover this statement. So any question on this statement, please ask me here. It's clear, right? Okay. Now, if it is clear, just I will ask one more question, try to give the answer. For example, this is the table I'm having in my table, in my database system. Now from this table, I want to get the data like this. My requirement is get data for department IDs where more than one employee is working. So try to understand the requirement first. So what's the requirement here? I want to get data for the department IDs. But which department IDs data I want to get? I want to get the data for department ID where more than one employee is working. That is the requirement. Now you try to give the answer by seeing the requirement. What is the output we are expecting here? What is the output? How many columns you want to get? I want to get only department ID column. And in the department ID column, as per the requirement, what is the data we are expecting? I want to get the department ID where more than one employee is working. And now you tell me in the 10 department, how many employees are working? 2, which is nothing but more than one employee is working. I want to get output as a 10. What about 20? More than one employee, I want to get output
30.
as a 20. But coming to 30, only one employee.
30.
Now in this situation, you want to get output as a 30 or it's not required?
Not
you want
required.
to get output as a 30
Not
or it's not
required.
required? It's not required only. So I want to get only these 2 department IDs as per my requirement. Now to achieve this requirement, what is the query we can able to frame? New batch students, please try to give the answer. To achieve this requirement, how we need to frame the query?
Select star.
Select star. Someone is saying select
From
star from
table.
employee table. Okay.
Where department ID
Where department ID
greater than 1.
greater than 1. Okay, so someone is saying that select star from employee table where department ID greater than 1. First question, if I'm going to run this query, how many columns it will display?
5.
All the columns. But what is our requirement? I want to get only one column. That is the one mistake. And second mistake, if I'm going to give the condition as a where department ID greater than 1, how many values we are going to get in the output? DID greater than 1. All these values are falling under DID greater than 1 only. So automatically what will happen? 10 is a greater than 1, 20 is a greater than 1, 30 is a greater than 1. So for that reason, if I'm going to run this query, it will give all the 4 columns in the output. At the same time, it will give all the 5 records in the output. Is it a correct query? No.
No.
Then what's the correct query? If you want to write the query,
Select
first what we need to
distinct-
understand? You need to understand the requirement and you need to apply your empirical skills. And so somebody is saying that select distinct. Yeah, continue.
Select distinct DMD from
Employee.
employee.
Okay.
Uh,
But tell me here, if I'm going to run this query, you want to get the distinct values from the department ID or you want to get the department IDs where more than one employee is working?
where more than one employee is working.
If I'm given the distinct, what will happen? It will give output as simply, it will give output as 10,
10 and
20,
20.
30 is a distinct value. We are getting output as all these 3 records, but this is not my requirement. I don't want to get the distinct values. What is the requirement? I want to get data for all the employees where more than one employee is working. I want to get only these 2 records in my output. Okay, I will explain it only. So
Can we use row number here?
no need to go for row number only. So we can able to achieve the requirement very simply. So see here, that's the thing I told you earlier also. Whenever you are going to write the query, don't think about the directly query and this. So first you think about how to achieve the requirement. Once you can understand how to achieve the requirement, with that easily you can able to frame the query. Now tell me, in the 10 department, how many employees are working? 2 employees. Is it correct? Okay. Now in the 20 department, how many employees are working? 2 employees. Now coming to 30 department, how many employees are working? 1 department. So first you need to understand the data. In the 10 department, 2 employees are working. 20 department, 2 employees are working. 30 department, 1 employee is working. Now this is the way we are having the data in the table. Now out of this data, what is the data you want to get? Wherever we are having more than 1 employee is working in the department, that data I want to get in the output screen. Now indirectly, out of these 3 records, which record you want to filter? Out of these 3 records, which record you want to filter? I want to filter this record. Okay, I want to filter out this record because I don't want to get this record only. I want to get only these 2 records into my output screen, which is nothing but I want to filter out this record in my output screen. But tell me why you want to filter out this record? What is the reason?
Here the employee is only 1 for the
Only 1.
department
Okay,
ID.
which is nothing but whatever the values we are getting here, wherever we are having less than wherever we are having the greater than 1, only those records I want to get. If it is equal to 1 or if it is less than 1, I don't want to get such kind of records in my output, right? So overall, if you observe, as part of this output, just I'm giving like this, I want to get DID column and I want to get count of star. Okay, if you want to understand this output, first what we need to understand, we need to get the department ID. For every department ID, what we need to calculate? We need to calculate the number of records by using the count function. But that's it, or we need to perform any other operations? We need to perform one more operation called as a count of star should be
Greater than
So actually, first thing, so in your brain, you need to think like this only. I need to get this kind of data. 10 department, how many employees are working? 20 department, how many employees are working? 30 department, how many employees are working? After getting this kind of data, on this data, what we need to do? You need to apply the condition. What is the condition? We need to apply the condition as a count of star greater than 1. Now, out of these 3 records, where we are having count of star greater than 1, these 2 records, which is nothing but I want to get only these 2 records in my output screen. Okay. Now this is the way you need to analyze the requirement, and this is the way you need to understand the requirement, how to get the output. And now by seeing all this kind of analysis on top of this data, now try to give the answer how to achieve, how to write the query. What is the first step? You need to get the department ID and you want to get the count of star ID. So how to give the query is select department ID, comma
Count of star
from
same.
employee table. Now, first question: if I'm going to run this query will execute, or this query will give any error?
Execute.
execute.
Someone voice is very differently coming on this. So can you please go mute that person? I think your network is bad, so that's the reason your voice is coming differently completely. Okay, so here I want to, so in my brain, I want to get the output like this, not in the output only. In your brain, you are thinking, I want to get the DID and I want to get the count of star. So for that reason, we are giving it as a select DID, comma count of star from the employee table. Now tell me if I'm going to run this query will execute or not.
No, sir. But we will get 3 records.
We'll try to run this query. Select department ID, comma submon sal from employee table. Okay. Now, if I'm going to run this query, see here what's happening. Sorry, it's my mistake. Employee underscore main table. What's happening? We are getting output as a syntax error. What's the reason? Here, you want to perform some aggregate operation, and you want to perform the aggregate operation, or you want to perform the summarizer operation based on the complete table or based on a particular column. Based on a particular column, I want to perform the aggregate operation or summarizer operation. Whenever you want to perform the aggregate operations based on a particular column, compulsory what we have to do? We need to apply the group by class. So see here, every topic is interlinked, and if you miss one topic, automatically you cannot able to understand the next topic here. Already we discussed about the group by class. At that point of time, what we discussed, whenever you want to perform the aggregate operations at the column level, compulsory we have.
Hello.
Hello.
So your voice is not audible.
Sir, I get this.
On this SQL query or not as per the requirement.
Sir,
once I'm going to run this query up to here, what will happen? You are going to get all the 3 records, but I don't want to get all the records. I want to get data for only count of star greater than 1 employees, which is nothing but indirectly here we need to apply the condition as count of star greater than 1. But tell me, earlier we discussed about one statement, and whenever you want to apply the filter conditions on the data, what is the keyword we need to use?
Like having, like.
Have it is like when we need to go for like operator for the aggregate functions or for the expressions. Whenever you want to apply the filters on top of the regular expressions, then we need to go for the like operator. But in this query, are we using any regular expressions? No, right? It's a kind of an aggregate function. Okay. As we discussed earlier, actually, whenever you want to apply any filter conditions on top of the data, then what is the keyword actually we need to use? We need to use the keyword called as a where function only. But tell me here we are going to apply the condition on the normal column, or we are applying the condition on the aggregate column or aggregate function?
Aggregate.
We are applying the filter condition on top of the aggregate function, or we can able to say we are applying the filter condition on top of the aggregate column. And whenever we are having such kind of requirement, you cannot able to use the where clause. So for example, in this query, I will give the group by department ID. Then I'm giving where clause. I'm giving count of star greater than 1. We'll see what will happen. See what's happening. Simply you are going to get the output. Because here, this is the one important thing we need to understand. Whenever you are going to apply the filter conditions on the aggregate functions or on aggregate columns, we cannot able to use the where clause. So then what we have to use? We need to use the new keyword called as a having keyword only. So by using the having keyword, we can able to apply the filter conditions on top of your aggregate columns. So this is the one important point we need to understand. As per the requirement, if you want to apply filter conditions on top of aggregate columns, then we have to use having clause or having keyword. Again, the same question. What is meant by aggregate column? Whenever we are deriving any data by using the aggregate function, such kind of columns we can able to call it as a aggregate columns. And now, if you want to apply the filter conditions on top of the aggregate column, yeah.
A small row. If I put a count of DID greater than 1, like it, we can't print it off in.
In the same query, you want to give the count of department ID.
Yeah. Yes. Before the in starting, select count of DID greater than 1, like it, we can't.
No, in the select statement, can we, in the select statement directly can we able to apply the condition where we have to apply the conditions? After the table name only we have to apply the filter condition. You are asking that I will give it as a count of DID greater than 1. Tell me this query will execute? No. Because what is the syntax of the count function? You have to give the star or you have to give the column name only. You cannot able to give the conditions on the count. That's the reason this query will give the error.
Okay, sir. Okay. So last also after having also it's not faulty, sir. Having count DID greater than.
Yeah, this will work. See, actually here in this query I'm using the count of star. Here I'm using the count of DID. You tell me, as we discussed earlier, count of star is equal to count of DID. Is the correct statement or is the wrong statement?
Wrong statement, sir. Because,
Why?
this count of star, I mean, like for DID, we are asking only for us. Maximum it is equal only because count of DID also column name, same number of columns will, rows we will get. So it will
Don't get the confusion.
it is right.
It's very simple. Count of star is equal to count of column name. We already discussed about the same statement in the previous class. Count of star is equal to count of column name. But when if the column is having all not null values, okay, in this example, I've given the count of star or I've given the count of DID. What will happen? Because DID is having all the not null values. For that reason, here we can able to say count of star is equal to count of DID. Okay, for example, I'm giving count of star is not equal to count of DID. When
having the null values.
When it has null values.
If DID is having null values, but whatever the example we are discussing, in this DID column, do we have any null values? No. That's the reason. If you want, you can do it as a count of star, or if you want, what we can do, we can give it as a count of DID. Both will work without giving any kind of errors. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now coming back to here, what I'm telling, as per the requirement, if you want to apply the filter conditions on top of the aggregate column, then what we are doing here, we are using the keyword called as a having keyword. And what is the meaning of aggregate columns? Only if you are deriving any columns by using the aggregate functions, such kind of columns only we can able to call it as a aggregate columns. And if you want to apply the filter conditions on top of the aggregate columns, then what is the keyword we are using? We are using it as a having keyword. Okay. Now you try to give the answer. What is the difference between where and having? Or first tell me what is the similarity between both? Both we are using for what? For filtering the data. So we are using both for the purpose of filtering the data. We are using the where clause and having clause. Both we are using to filter the data. But if anyone is asking the question, what is the difference? Then what we can able to say? Where clause
there is a condition
will apply on normal columns, but having will apply on aggregate columns. Actually, again, this is the one of the interview question. In the interview, they will ask a question like this: what is the difference between where clause and having clause? So it's very simple. Once you understand this concept, whatever the example we discussed here, with this example, easily you can able to give the answer. Similarity is nothing but if both we are using for the filtering the data, but what is the difference? Where clause we are applying to apply the filters on the normal columns, but having we are going to apply on the aggregate columns to apply the filter. This is the way simply you need to understand what is the difference between the where clause and having clause only. Now coming back to our requirement here, what is the requirement? I want to get all the department IDs whose department IDs are having more than one employee. So for that reason, we are writing the query called as a select DID comma count of star from employee table group by department ID. Now tell me, for example, if I'm going to run the query up to here, what will happen? Without including the having clause, up to here I'm running the query. What will happen? What is the output you will get?
10, 20, 30.
You will get all these three records in the output. Okay. Now, once we are going to apply the having clause, now what will happen? If I'm going to run this query completely,
Only 10 and 20.
Now only 10 and 20 will be coming on top of your output screen. Okay, but tell me here now, for example, if I'm going to run this query, so what will happen? This is given the output like this, but is it my requirement? If I'm going to run this query, it is given the DAD column, it is given the count of star, it is given the 10 and 20, it is given the 2 and 2 as we discussed. Perfectly, it is given this output, but is it my requirement? In my requirement, what is the output I'm expecting?
Only DID column.
Only DID column, but here what is happening? We are getting the 2 columns, right? Indirectly, this is not satisfying my requirement. Now, if you want to achieve your requirement as per our example, what is the change we need to perform in this query?
We need
What
to
is the
remove
change?
count, select
Very
statement
simple.
count of star.
Remove
Just
DAD
remove
and
the count of star. Because I
count
want to
of
get
DAD.
only DAD column. That's the reason what I will do here. I will apply the only DAD column in the select statement, but I will apply the count of star in the having clause only. So with this, what will happen? You will get only one column. At the same time, it is going to check the conditions internally. Based on that, it will give only the records, required records on top of your output. This is the way simply we can understand to achieve this requirement, how we can able to frame our SQL statement. But tell me, this query will give any error? This query will not give any error. It will give the output, but only thing is it is given the 2 columns as the output. But my requirement is I want to get only department ID. I don't want to get the count information. That's the reason here we are removing the count of star in the select statement. We are given the only DAD column only. So with that, what will happen? This query will run. It will give the only 1 column and 2 records on top of your output screen. Okay. Any question on top of this entire SQL statement? Please ask me here in this example.
Oh, sir, in the differences, can we say in this way, if you want to use having, compulsorily the group by clause should be there, but for where, whether the group by is there or not, we can use a where condition.
Yeah, we can tell that like that also. If you want, you can able to say having clause we can use the combination of group by. But for where clause, we don't have any such kind of dependency. So this is the one more difference you can able to say. So whenever you are going to apply the having clause, so what is happening? We need to apply the group by clause only. But coming to where clause, we don't have any such kind of dependency. Directly we can able to apply the where clause without having any such kind of dependency statements. Okay. So on top of this example, any questions or confusions, please ask me. Again, this is the one of the interview question. Just for our understanding, I will say this is the one of the interview question. Yeah, please.
I have few doubts on assignment questions. Can we discuss now or end of the class?
Now, on which one only? I didn't get that.
Assignment questions.
Assignment question. So I will discuss separately on it. So on I'm asking on this example, any questions, please ask me.
Okay.
No questions? Okay. Now, just I will give one more requirement, try to give the answer. In your table, we defined one column as unique column. So for example, in your table, we defined one column as a unique column only. Indirectly, we applied the constraint on your column. What is the purpose of unique constraint? Or what are the different constraints we are having? Hope everyone remember that.
Primary key.
We are having the primary key, foreign key,
Foreign key,
unique,
null,
Not.
and check and not null. Okay, all these are the different constraints we are having. Out of all these constraints, we discuss everything except the primary key and foreign key only. Okay, except the primary key and foreign key, we discussed about the other constraints. Now, what is the purpose of the unique constraint? In a particular column, if you don't want to allow any kind of duplicate, not for removing null values only, or not for removing the duplicates also, not for removing the duplicate. If you don't want to allow the duplicates, okay, so there is again difference in the statements only. To remove the duplicates and to not allow the duplicates. Tell me, both the statements are same or both the statements are different?
Different.
Both are completely different only. So as part of giving the answers, as part of your interviews, please cross-check your statements, what we are giving. To remove the duplicates is nothing but in that table, already I'm having the duplicates. To remove the duplicates, I'm applying the unique constraint. That is the wrong statement only. So here what we have to say, why we are applying the unique constraint? As part of loading the data, I don't want to allow the duplicate records into a particular column. In that situation, what we have to do here, we need to apply the constraint called as a unique constraint. Okay. Now, for example, in my table, I am giving unique constraint on, for example, EAD column. Just I'm giving the same example, an employee table example. So what I'm doing here, for example, in my table, I am given the unique constraint on top of the EAD column, which means what? EAD column will not allow duplicates. EAD column will not allow duplicates, obviously. Now, why we are applying the unique constraint on the EAD column in the real time? For example, as per the client requirement, he don't want to allow any kind of duplicate records on top of the EAD column. That's the reason what we are doing here as part of creation of the table, we are applying the constraint called as a unique constraint on top of this column. Okay. Now, for example, after creation of the table, after loading the data, after creating the table, and after loading the data, client or your team lead is asking the question. They're asking the question is, can you please check whether employee ID column having any duplicates or not? So what is the question they're asking? In the, for example, in a meeting, your client or your team lead is asking a question like this only. Can you please check whether employee ID column is having any duplicates or not? For example, you are going to say, we updated the unique constraint on top of this column. So this column is not having any duplicates. You given that answer, but still they are asking that, can you please verify the data and confirm me? Then you tell me how we can able to verify the data in the EAD column and how we can give the confirmation this column is not having any duplicates. Don't give the answer. Don't give the answer. Don't give the answers, or already we applied the unique constraint, it won't allow any duplicates, that I know only. Okay, and your team lead also know, but they are given the requirement like this. Can you please go back to your system? Please verify whether employee ID column is having any duplicates or not. Please run the query and take the screenshot and give that screenshot to me. This is the way they given the requirement to you. In that situation, how we can able to frame the query? You know, try to apply distinct. Someone is saying that we need to apply the distinct. But see, for example,
we have to use having count of star greater than 1.
Yeah, we'll go on 1 second. We'll see the distinct one. I'm giving select distinct employee ID from employee table. Now tell me if I'm going to run this query, what will happen? It will give output as a EAD column. In the EAD column, what values you are going to get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But tell me, if you are going to have the 1 lakh records, what will happen? It will display all the 1 lakh distinct values only. By seeing the data, can we able to say here we don't have any duplicates? No, right? No. Here, what is the requirement? I don't want to populate the distinct values. I want to ensure that my table is not having any duplicate values in the EAD column. That is my requirement. I don't want to get the distinct values. So very simple only. So when we can able to say EAD column is not having any duplicates, when we can able to say EAD column is not having the duplicates. For example, 1 is present only one time, 2 also having only one time, 3 also present only one time, and 4 also present only one time, and 5 also present only one time only. Now you tell me, in this table 1 is having any duplicate because it's present only one time, so it's not having a duplicate. What about 2? No duplicate. 3, no duplicate. 4, no duplicate. 5, no duplicate. Indirectly, for each and every employee ID, I want to check how many times it is repeating. After that, I need to verify whether it is repeating more than 1 or equal to 1. If it is repeating more than 1, then what we can able to say? For example, 1 is repeating 2 times, then can we able to say it as a duplicate record?
Yes, we can.
Yes. But if it is repeating only 1 time, can we call it as a duplicate record?
No.
No, right? Which is nothing but if you want to understand whether a column is having the duplicate values or not, instead of writing the query directly, first we need to understand all these things. And if your record is not repeating multiple times, that only we can able to call it as a normal record. If your record is repeating more than once, that record we can able to call it as a duplicate record. Indirectly here, what we need to do for each and every employee ID, I want to get the count values only. So for that, what is the query we need to frame? Select EAD, comma, count of star from employee table. Now, if I'm going to run this query, what will happen? If I'm going to run this query, what will happen?
It will
This employee ID, how many employees?
This query will execute?
Yes.
No, sir. No.
Group by.
So this is true. So actually same example above we discussed by using the DAD column only. If I'm going to run this query directly, what will happen? You are going to get the syntax error because you want to perform the count operation at the column level. Okay. So for the reason what we have to do compulsory, we have to apply the group by class. But tell me, if I'm going to run the query up to here, what will happen? It will be output as a EAD column and count of star, and after that you are going to get the output like this. But you want to get the output like this, or you want to verify whether we are having any duplicates or not?
We have to verify.
I
have to
want to
verify.
verify whether we are having duplicates or not. Indirectly, we need to apply the condition. What is the condition we need to apply?
Just having count of star.
Let me give it as a count of star greater than 1. This is the condition we need to apply. But to apply this condition, here we need to apply the where clause or we need to apply the having clause?
Having clause.
We need to apply the having clause because we want to apply the condition on top of a aggregate column or aggregate function. That's the reason we need to apply the function called as a keyword called as a having only. Now tell me, if I'm going to run this query, now how many records it will throw?
0, because we don't have any duplicates.
See, actually, if you are not going to include the having clause, it is going to give this kind of output. Now, indirectly on top of this output, we are applying the condition called as a having count of star greater than 1. But tell me, do we have any values as a greater than 1 here?
No.
No. So automatically, what will happen? This query will give output as a 0 records. Now, indirectly, what is the meaning of 0 records?
Empty set.
No duplicates.
Your table is having empty records, or your table is not having the duplicates?
Not having duplicates.
having the
Records is nothing but my employee ID column is not having any duplicates. So this is the way simply we need to understand how you need to perform the duplicate check on top of a particular column and on top of a particular column. If you want to verify whether we are having the duplicates or not, then this is the way we can able to frame the query. This is the again one of the interview question. They will ask a question like this, and how to verify duplicate records are present or not in the table. Then what we can do, simply we can able to apply the condition called to write the query like this: select EAD comma count of star from employee table, group by employee ID having count of star greater than 1. If you observe here in this query, are we discussing any new topic? You know count function, you know having clause, you know group by. Just what we are doing here, we are combining all the different topics into the single query for what? To achieve our requirement, and whatever the query you are going to write, you are going to write the queries in the same way, and first we'll try to understand the individual topics. Once you understand the individual topics, then what we are doing, simply by depending on the requirement, we are combining the multiple functions or multiple operators into the single query. With that, you can able to achieve the requirements by depending on our requirement. Okay, any question on top of this entire requirement or entire example, please ask me here again.
Yeah, sir, what if you want entire table columns, like select star?
Okay, good question. So for example, I want to verify the duplicate records in the combination of all the columns, and just one second. There is a concept called as a absolute duplicates, and one more concept called as a normal duplicates. So we are having the two types of duplicates in the database side. One is the normal duplicates, another one is the absolute duplicates, and so absolute duplicate is nothing but if your table is having duplicate values in the combination of all the columns in the table. So what I'm telling here, if your table is having the duplicate values in the combination of all the columns in the table, such kind of duplicates we can call it as absolute duplicates. Okay, now coming to normal duplicates. If your table is having duplicates in the combination of only few columns, those kind of duplicates we can call it as normal duplicates. So we are having the two types of duplicates in the database. One is the normal duplicate, and another one is the absolute duplicate. In the combination of only few columns, if we are having the duplicates, such kind of records we can able to call it as a normal duplicate. In the combination of all the columns, if you are going to have the duplicates and such kind of duplicates, we can able to call it as a absolute duplicate. Now we'll see one example. With that example, you can get a clear picture. See, for example, here this is the data we are having in the table. Now in this table, I'm having the data like this. Now what I'm doing here is, for example, in the DAD column, tell me, do we have the duplicate records or not? In the DAD column, whether we are having the duplicate records or not. 10 is a duplicate, 20 is a duplicate, 30 is a duplicate, which is nothing but DAD column having duplicates. Okay. Now tell me, in the combination of EAD column and DAD column, for example, in the combination of EAD column and DAD column, do we have any duplicates in this table? In the combination of EAD column and DAD?
No,
110, 210, 320, 420, 530. In the combination of both the columns, we don't have any duplicates. So I can able to say here we don't have any duplicates. No duplicates. Okay. Now you tell me in this example, which duplicates we can able to call it as a normal duplicates. In the DAD column, whatever the duplicates we are having, can we call it as a normal duplicate or we can need to call it as an absolute duplicate? In the DAD column, whatever the duplicates we are having, what we can able to call? These we can able to call it as a normal duplicates. Okay. Now, for example, just I'm inserting one more record like this in this table. Just I'm giving the different color coding. Just I added the one more record in this table only, but in this table, I am having the data like this. Just for example, I'm giving this one. Now tell me, in this table, in the combination of EAD column and DAD column, whether we are having the duplicates or not. 110 is a duplicate. Again, 110 is a duplicate, which is nothing but in the combination of EAD column and DAD column, we are having the duplicate record. Again, the same question. Is it normal duplicate or is it absolute duplicate?
Absolute duplicate. Normal
duplicate.
It's a normal duplicate only because it is again duplicate record, but in the combination of all the columns or in the combination of only particular columns.
Only
the combination of only particular, which is nothing but only in the combination of EAD column and DAD column, you are having the duplicate that we can call it as a normal duplicate only. Now, for example, in this table, I am having a record like this. Now you tell me, in this table, do we have any absolute duplicate records?
Yes.
What is meant by absolute duplicate record? In the combination of all the columns, if you are having any duplicates, such kind of duplicates, we can call it as a absolute duplicate record, which is nothing but we need to see the data 1A10IN. Again, 1A10IN and D. So which is nothing but in the combination of all the columns, we are having a duplicate record 1A10IN, again 1A10IN. So these kind of duplicates, what we can able to call here, which we can able to call it as a absolute duplicate record. Just I'm giving the coloring like this. So this is one absolute duplicate record, and this is the one more absolute duplicate record. Okay. Now, earlier we discussed about if only employee ID column is having duplicate, how to fetch it. Only if department ID column is having the duplicate, how we can able to fetch it. And now my requirement is how to check whether table having absolute duplicates or not. So this is the requirement. I want to verify that whether my table is having any absolute duplicates or not. You take it as an assignment. Okay. In tomorrow's class, please come with the answer. How to check whether table is having absolute duplicates records or not. Don't try in the Google. Try apply your analytical skills and try to write the query. And with that, you can understand whatever the topics we discussed above only. It's very simple. Only thing is nothing but you need to apply the analytical skills. By applying the analytical skills, try to understand how we can able to find out absolute duplicate records on top of your table. Is it clear? Okay. If it is clear, so that's all for today. Actually, I have a meeting at 12:30. So just I will tell you. So please complete the assignment. Whatever the assignment I given, please complete that. And send that assignment answers to my mail ID. My mail ID is srinivasqt@gmail.com. After the class I will send this Excel sheet to you. In this Excel sheet, you can able to see my mail ID. My mail ID is srinivasqt@gmail.com. I will verify whether everyone sent this assignment to me or not only. Try to send it by when? By end of the day today. Because I already sent it 2 days back itself only. So please complete this assignment. Tomorrow I will give the one more assignment. So please complete the assignment and send to my mail ID. Try to send it by end of the day today. So don't think that sorry is not going to track anything only. I will track. Just I am going to verify how many people are completed, how many people are not completed. So based on this performance only, we are going to have the other discussions in the coming days. So please complete the assignment and send it to me by end of the day today. Okay. And one more assignment, please find out the absolute duplicate record. So this is just a small assignment I'm giving only. So please try to do this assignment also and send the answer for this query also to me. Okay, that's all for today. So no, actually tomorrow we are planning to have the one-to-one sessions only. Anyhow, tomorrow morning you will join at 8:30, right? So at that point of time, I will tell you. So actually, management team asked me to go with the one-on-one sessions. So tomorrow onwards, I'm planning to start with the one-on-one sessions. So tomorrow we are having 8:30 class and 11:45 class and 2:30 class also. All the 3 classes are there. And in between the classes, we'll have one-on-one sessions. I won't able to cover all the people on the same day only. So every day I will connect with 5 people or 10 people by depending on the availability. So tomorrow morning 8:30 class we are having, and 11:45 and 2:30 also we are having the classes. And tomorrow we are going to have the one-on-one sessions. In this one-on-one sessions, I will provide some kind of career guidance. Okay, if you have any kind of questions, how many years of experience you need to put, or how much, for example, you're having 10 years of gap, how you need to put that gap, or if you have any other kind of issues to learn the topics and everything. So you can have that kind of discussion with me, and so those kind of discussions are going to happen in the tomorrow session. And just I'm repeating the same thing. So in same day, I cannot able to complete all the people. Every day I will take for 5 people or 6 people by depending on the time availability. So first we'll complete this one-on-one session, and after that we'll have the mock interviews. Is it
For
clear?
online people, like how you will connect, sir?
For online people also, I have a plan on this. So I will let you know in the tomorrow's 8:30. So because I'm running late for my other meeting, so sorry for that.
Okay,
Sorry to
okay,
cut
no
you.
problem.
Tomorrow morning 8:30, I will discuss about all the details for online people and offline people, how we are going to handle that. Thank you, team. Thank you all. So I will send
Thank you,
this
sir.
document to you, and please complete the assignment by today EOD and send it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.